So I would encourage you not only to listen carefully, but to give her a warm welcome. Johanna Dasteel.
Thanks. I'd like to thank Bruce and Keith for working so close with me to get me out here. This is a great conference for us just to regroup and share what we've been doing, working with Personhood USA and everyone else in here. I asked Keith, what kind of people, who's going to be here today? And he said, well, many of them are going to be veterans in the Personhood, and many of them are not going to be familiar with it at all. So I just took that as a charge to maybe get us all on the same page as to understanding what Personhood is about. The way I like to think of this is a mechanism for achieving our goal of equal rights for the preborn among everyone else. And once we see it as a mechanism, it's a mechanism for achieving those rights, also for evangelizing that, for education, and also it's a mechanism to hold a standard of what we do. So I work with congressmen, I work on these state initiatives, but in Congress, we hold this as a standard. We're not going to support any of the initiatives that they're trying to do in Congress for pro-life if it violates the standard of personhood. If they're not respecting every human being as a person, we're not supporting what they do. And it gets them thinking. I mean, many of these congressmen in D.C. don't think that way. Abortion makes them uncomfortable, and that's about where it ends. It's not that they don't feel the injustice of the matter as passionately as many of us in this room do. So anyway, I guess we've covered a lot that I was going to cover in this talk already with the panels and everything, but I guess we could talk about where personhood came from. We went over that with Roe versus Wade. I know Guabe mentioned that. In Roe, the court said if it were established that a fetus is a person, then the case for personhood would collapse. So this is where we found our mechanism. We have the state of affairs as we do right now because the fetus is not recognized as a person. So that's what we have to achieve, is personhood for the preborn. So I know that Keith also asked me to address the philosophical and religious aspects of personhood, and I see these as the apologetics tools. A lot of the people that we're reaching out to need to be reached through philosophical reasoning, through logical reasoning. Some people are Christians and they need to be reached with a religious message. So, and obviously, Pastor Flip went through that as well. But I guess what I'm saying, the philosophical and religious reasons, but we also need to understand the science. And what I work on in these initiatives a lot is the scientific language in them. And you'll notice in these initiatives that we're pushing now, we don't have conception and we don't have the term fertilization. We have the phrase from the beginning of the biological development of that human being. That's how the Colorado initiative is worded. Every human being, the term person applies to every human being from the beginning of the biological development of that human being. So what we're doing with this, I can walk through that. I don't know if any of you are familiar, but the reason we don't use the term conception is because the term was redefined by the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists in, I think it was 1976, to mean implantation. So no longer is it fertilization, it means implantation. So we can't use that. First of all, it's not a legal, it's a religious and philosophical term. It's not scientific. And then we don't use fertilization because not every human being is reproduced sexually. I guess the easiest way to understand this is natural twins. If you see identical twins, one of them was not reproduced through the process of fertilization. So in order to cover, I guess in simplest terms, in order to cover every human being and protect every human being as a person, we have to use different language. And it's the phrase from the beginning of the biological development of that human being, it's pretty self-explanatory. From the beginning of a person's biological development. So the pro-aborts understand it right away. Planned Parenthood knows what we're talking about. Everybody does. When we're petitioning, everybody understands this. So I guess I really want to open this up to questions as to what I do and what you want me to talk about, because this is the stuff that I'm dealing with. And pretty much everything I was going to talk about, we already talked about in our panel discussions. So if that's all right with you, Bruce, can I do it this way? Okay, I'd rather do it this way.
I've always understood it that 23 chromosomes
Okay, well,
My understanding was that when 23 chromosomes came together to create a specific DNA strand, which was 46 chromosomes, that was a new person, that was a new individual. And I'm wondering, is that the point of biological? Or?
okay, I can address that. Well, I would preface this with saying not every person has just 46 chromosomes. There are genetic anomalies. But no, the beginning of a human being's biological development is at penetration. So I've been calling fertilization a process, not a moment. Maybe a lot of us are used to saying moment of conception or moment of fertilization. Well, fertilization is not a moment. It takes several moments. It begins with the penetration of the oocyte by the sperm. And also, we don't say egg. I mean, we know the opposition takes that term. It's an unscientific term. It's not used within the scientific community. It's an oocyte. The opposition, once we start using that, will say, well, we're trying to give rights to fertilized eggs. Well, there's no such thing as a fertilized egg. That's a human being. That's a dehumanizing term. So once penetration occurs, penetration of the oocyte by the sperm, that's the beginning of the process of fertilization. Then the human being develops into an ootid, and then a zygote, which you may be familiar with. But the zygote, you identify the human being as a zygote at the end of the process of fertilization. But there's a human being present during the whole process. Does that make sense? Sort of. Okay. Absolutely. I'm looking. Sure.
Johanna, what do you do on a day-by-day basis, and how can that help us here?
Okay, well, I mainly act I help develop educational material with American Life League, but I'm really here to help you. My primary role is to be of service to anyone who wants to do a state initiative to help you get going, get you connected with Keith and Cal when it comes to, with Personhood USA, when it comes to organizing. We'll help you organize, we'll be of service to you, get you the right information, help you with your language, help you know which way you need to go and who you need to talk to. You can ask me anything and I'll help you find the answers. So I'll have my business cards available out there, and please don't hesitate to contact me, call me, email me, because if you need to meet with people, if you need to know who to talk to, or you're having problems, okay, they're telling me this, I don't know how to address this question, I'm finding opposition here. I'm here to help you. If I don't know the answers, I'll help you find the answers, and if you don't know how to do something, I'll help you figure it out. That's my primary role. What do you most often have? Questions. Objections. Yeah, of every kind, basically. So legal questions. Well, we've gone over a lot of the objections in the different... Oh, most often for me. Bad timing, bad language. That's it. If not now, when? Martin Luther King Jr.'s response, really, I'm part of the generation that's being killed. And I hear this the most from a generation who wasn't vulnerable to this slaughter. And I see all my friends affected by abortion, whether they've endured it themselves or they've lost siblings. So I just find that people in my generation get it, we understand it, and we're not ready. We don't want to wait any longer. I haven't known anything but abortion. I have not known a society, I have not known a community without abortion being on the table and affecting everybody. Whether I knew it or not, growing up, I didn't know why it was people were behaving the way they were. And now I see, well, that's because everyone is affected by this. Everyone is affected by this. We all are. It's a big tragedy. So I don't have a lot of patience for these objections. I think that a lot of the people who are on the panel with me have a lot more patience than I do. I find it to be bigoted. I see a lot of bigotry, even within the pro-life community. And I just say, we have to do this now. We are only charged with doing God's bidding. We don't have to be successful. He will bless anything. We have the gospel. We live by the gospel. We do it. So I don't have to worry about what will come of it. I know that he'll bless this. So, but anyway, I also do stuff with defunding Planned Parenthood, so if you have questions about that too, I work a lot on that. But I see this as a great way to defund Planned Parenthood. So.
You also help new states get up and running with endorsements from national organizations. Shouldn't take that to get someone to want to do it, but we know that adds clout when you're talking to someone.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of this is if you want endorsements for whatever you're doing, you can call me for that too, to help you get those endorsements. Sometimes, I mean, there are general endorsements for the movement, but it's a really good idea when you have these state initiatives going or state state laws that you're trying to push. If you don't have the ballot access petition initiatives, is to get, well, both really, is to get endorsements specifically for your initiative. It's amazing how far that will go when people find you get an endorsement for the general movement, and that's helpful with the general movement. But for your initiative, it brings it home more for the people. If there's a national figure or even a state figure that people really that they respect and trust, and they don't have the time to investigate what this is all about, but someone they really trust to make good decisions, is saying, I support this initiative. That helps a lot. So I can help you with those too. I can help you get those sponsors. Or, I'm sorry, endorsements.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us what you've done to help build coalitions and to be able to get other organizations on board? Because I know that American Life League has done a lot of that.
Well, I don't know. We're more divisive because we do hold the personhood standard than we are coalition builders. So,
But you've recruited people, though. You guys have recruited.
Right. So, I mean, things are coming around as personhood is becoming more relevant and people are acting on the principle and taking it and going like Personhood USA is. People are coming on board. And I'm in Washington, D.C., so I see these other organizations a lot, and I'm always saying, hey, what about personhood? Hey, let's talk about this. And they say, okay, later. Okay. But now they're talking. They're at least saying, okay, yeah, we can talk about this. So where are we going with this? What's happening? They're interested in getting status updates at this point. So, I mean, really, we just have to go with it, do it well, and they'll come on board. And, you know, I'm working on that. Several of us at American Life League are working on reaching out to other organizations and get other people on board. The more, the better, but we're going to do it anyway. So.